Hi, I hope. I'm just giving a brief introduction. So I've known Hope. When I first came to New Zealand, and my first job, I met Hope. He was my co-worker, and he was one of my best friends in the workplace. So Hope, how are you?
Yeah, good, bro. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, oh, good. So this is my first podcast video that I'm doing, and I'm just here to discuss a few things that's going on in the society,
Yep.
and point of view that Hope has got, and this questions that I've got for him. The first up, I would just start off with how do you feel now? Like how does the present situation in New Zealand feel for you with the governments and all the changes that's happening?
Oh, mate, how long you got?
Just a brief.
Yeah. In general, been a big leap since COVID, obviously. A lot of people readjusted to trying to get to some normality, I guess.
Yeah.
But times have definitely changed. A lot more pinch on people, obviously, inflation, government's doing their job apparently. But it just seems to be a lot harder. Definitely harder since, say, 2-3 years ago, say, when we first knew each other. And, time's changing every day. So
I know, yeah. Just wanted to also see, what do you feel the biggest change in your younger days compared to what's now, like back in 90s and in 2000? What's the biggest change that that happened?
For me personally, what I've seen, my point of view, the whole family unit's gone. It's just been exhausted. It doesn't exist for a lot of people. It's now, back in the day, it was primarily dad that went to work, generally, and generalising, and mum was the homemaker. Now it's both parents need to be at work just to get by, and of course you got daycare and everything, so you don't get to see your kids. The whole family unit's been destroyed.
I feel that because I've just got a daughter who's 2 years old, and then I literally don't want to send her to daycare, but I'm working 40 hours and I'm working 8 hours a day just to see 4 hours. Take
just
care of 4
survive,
hours of my daughter, and it's hard. I know.
Well, like I say, with that family unit being pretty much destroyed, it used to be grandma or auntie and uncle staying with you, or grandparents especially played a big role in bringing up kids. Now you got daycare to look after. Half of your wages goes to that, or a good third, for example. So now the whole time as a family is just non-existent. You don't eat dinner on a table together. It's just when you can eat. If you're eating together, that's fine. But it just, everything has really, really changed over time. So that's probably been the biggest thing for me.
How do you associate, like, we as Indians have really big ties with our family, like our parents, our sister, brother. We really do care emotionally. Is that something different to you, or is that still the same, like with the children or with your parents? Was that?
Like I said, it's just over the time that it's evolved. When I was growing up, we used to go to weddings and 21st, and now people can't afford to do that. They just literally don't have the money to do it, or because it was a whole cohesive family unit. So uncle would do this, auntie would do that, grandparents would do their bit, and so it all came together. It wasn't just one, you and mum and dad, or just two people trying to do a wedding. Now it was multiple people, the whole family unit, extended family. Whereas now it's just, I can't even travel to go to a funeral. As sad as that sounds, but that's the reality of some people. They won't go to a birthday or wedding because they can't afford to take a gift. That's people's normality. That's like, hang on, we either eat this week, or I pay a bill this week, or I go to cousin's wedding and get them a present that I can't afford to give them, just for looks or for whatever. And people are having to decide in that manner. And some people think, come on, mate. But that's the nuts and bolts of it. I know it's not unique to me. It's not unique to you. It's, if you're in money, you're in money. But if you're not, well, like I said, you're doing 40 hours. That's a minimum you're doing now. That's not your average weekly. If you could do more, you'd do more. But now your wife has to come in, and that's normal for everybody. It's just not unique to you.
I would want to work more, but then the thing comes who takes care of my daughter? Who picks her up from the daycare? Who drops her off? What happens when she's sick? So I can't work. I want to work more than 40 hours, but I can't.
Yeah.
That's the whole reality.
Welcome to parenthood.
Yeah. So another thing I want to bring up is, so the first time I met you, you know this. So I was, literally, this big dude sitting there in the warehouse. I was like literally scared to come approach you to talk.
Yeah.
But then once I met you, you're literally the most sweetest person I met, in at least in New Zealand at that time. So I have this thing that people have a different perception towards. I wouldn't say Maori people, like big dudes like you.
Yeah.
And then have you felt that? Like, have you felt that all along?
my life?
Yeah.
And that's just because I've seen it firsthand. So it's not me being over exaggerating it, but the stereotypical person is what, 5'6" to 5'8", roughly about that. I'm 6 foot.
Yeah.
Right. So that's straight away. I was like, oh, okay. And then, I'm not a 140 kilo prop, but I'm 140 kilos.
Yeah,
so there's a span through the door, and it's like, okay, I know my look, I know what I perceive, and that's, I know what other people see. And then that's my first, I guess, thing to surprise people, because I'm the complete opposite, as people find out. And that's, to me, that's like, because once you do realise I'm probably one of the funniest people you meet, or caring, the nicest one, and it's not me blowing my own rules, but I know, because people go, man, this guy's like, it's like,
I mean, at that time, I didn't have any family yet. Now I've got my wife and my daughter, but at that time I had just a few friends, and then it was just you guys, workmates.
Yeah.
And we had I had a good time with you. We had those couple of drinks after work.
Yeah.
And then all the singing and all that. That's when I realized that, what you see isn't, the entire truth. Like, I thought you were a really hard guy, but then it turned out to be the complete opposite of what
I think in general, there's just what people just stereotype.
Yeah.
And then it's somebody said, but it's like the first 5 seconds is what people mostly remember about you, and whether you come across and you're angry or, but I don't have to do anything. People are like, and I know that. But once you talk to me and you think, okay, guy's brawn, but he's got a bit of a brain. Hang on, what's going on? That's not fitting my stereotype. And then all of a sudden it's like, then it's reversing on you, because you're now going, hang on, he's supposed to be this gang member sort of tough image. Yeah. And just swears every second word or what. And that's good for me, because I'm saying the world is different. Everybody's different, Just because I look a certain way or I have a certain demeanour doesn't mean that's who I am. It's just, hang on, that's your perception of me in 5 seconds, but that's your judgment or your experience or you've experienced in your life. Or people, and maybe you got hurt by someone like me and you go, I just don't like people like you because they're just rough and mean. And well, that's fine, but doesn't mean every person that looks like me is like that. You know?
Yeah. So another thing that generally we see in people is like they've got like huge tattoos and stuff like that. So does that mean anything to you? I mean, I know some of the stories behind it, but just for the audience, like, what does tattoos mean for you? Like, what does it personally mean for you?
Personally, it's more my culture, which is whakapapa. It's like both sides of my mum and my dad, more or less representing that. Yes, I'm proud to be Māori, so whether I wear a crest of a Union Jack or flag or whatever my crest is a dragon and a sword and whatever it may be, you're proud to be English, you're proud to be Indian. Or so it's like a badge of honour. It's my right because I am Māori to do that.
Yeah.
And I guess saying because we're more or less known as the missed generation, so knowing that both my mum and my grandmother spoke Māori fluently, yet they were both persuaded not to teach us the language, which is pretty harsh. I mean, you think, okay, what were they told? But hearing stories from my mother and my grandmother being strapped for speaking their language at school, okay, now that's getting pretty serious, And I'm not blaming anybody, but that's the facts that a lot of people don't understand and they don't know. You think, why don't you speak your own language? It's like being born an Indian person and you can't speak any Indian language. You'd be like, what? That's weird. Like, But yet that's normal over here. Or a lot of indigenous cultures can't speak their natural language or their God-given language because it was just blown right out of the culture. Everything was just taken away. So, I think people that are growing up as, like, say, foster kids and you don't know your mum or your dad, you got something missing, it's the same thing. And I guess as tattoos, I know for a lot of people that got caught in the system, kids that got beaten and all that, and then they got stuck into welfare care, they ended up becoming gang members. So it became a brotherhood, and that to say, okay, you love me, brother. I'll put that patch on my back. I'll wear that tattoo on my face. People go, oh, you must be crazy. It's the only place they ever got love. So that for a tattoo, and you think, man, that's my brother I got that for, you know? Yeah. So that's where a lot of that came from. So, whatever reason you get it, it's permanent. Yeah. And to do it in such a sense that we're probably the most tattooed nation in the world. Yeah. So it sort of tells you something that, okay, there's something that was missing, and it's UK, you'd call it anarchy. Over here it was just a way of freedom of speech and saying, this is me, here I am. And you're allowed to do it and you can't do nothing about it. So
just the things that you said now, I've just wanted to, I just thought of something is that what you said is true, that your ancestors fluently spoke Maori language, and then nowadays it's getting lesser and lesser and lesser. And I mean, I've seen many people and they can speak probably one sentence, but is that something that the society has done on purpose, or is it something that you feel that it's just passed on generations?
People, whatever you're taught in schools or you hear through whatever your mum and dad says to you, that's law. Why? Because it's your mum and dad. Your mum and dad wouldn't lie to you, or the education system says to you is because your mum and dad says that's what is supposed to be there. But who put it there? And if you're learning other things and saying, okay, why would this culture not want to learn their own language? Or learn about their history and everything else? And you think, okay, so does someone try to get rid of it? You know, in reality, I mean, like I said, there's no finger pointing, but it goes whether you're Afro-American, Aborigine, American Indian, and it's like, why does it seem to be all these indigenous cultures that are like, all of us, you just one day gave up and said, I'm not speaking Cherokee anymore, I'm not going to speak Māori anymore. I mean, don't get it wrong, we were at war with ourselves anyway. So, and it's man's biggest failure is greed. So whether you're white, brown, like I said, we were fighting anyway with each other. But then someone else came and just tried to take whatever we had. So it's like we're trying to get it back, and there's backwards and forwards, and you're fighting forever and a day, and you got centuries of war. You know?
But I completely agree with that, because we were colonized as well, as you know. I mean, we were colonized by Britishers, and we were fighting against each other. That was our biggest weakness, and they capitalized on it. And then they just colonized us. And like you said, all the indigenous cultures have their languages have been even though the government promoted like in New Zealand, they promote we have to speak Maori. I mean, we have to have Maori things in the emails and stuff like that. All the things for the show. But the language is actually dying, and that happens to all the indigenous languages. I feel like all the governments promote. They promote it, but then it's actually they don't want us to speak it. Actually, I felt that as an outsider as well.
You're correct. And how they've done it over time. This ain't a new thing, right? For example, like I said, my mum spoke. She was an educator, right, all my life, teaching in primary and right up through into university. So she wasn't a silly person. And like I said, she used to speak Māori to my grandmother. They were both fluent. And yet my sister and I are sitting there like, they would not teach it to us. Now you think, hang on, what? You're thinking now, when you're a child, it's like, it was just normal. I know, But now you think back, okay, how bad would it have been just to say, I know how to speak Māori, my mother-in-law knows how to speak Māori, but I'm not going to teach my child. You think, hang on, something is not quite right here, right? And as you know, or if you don't know, Māori tried to come back and literally nearly got extinguished fully. And then there was the likes of my mother and a lot of her colleagues that were teaching colleagues that started off the Kohanga Reo movement, which was teaching young kids, and it's actually rejuvenated to make it come back in. Otherwise, it completely would be gone by now. So the generations after us were then taught as babies, and then they went to intermediate and high school. Now they're lectures and they pass it on. They work for Māori television, and you get the likes of Scotty Morrison and all these people that really promote Māori. And yeah, it's good because at the end of the day, whatever you're taught in a school, right? Yet what I was taught and what you were taught and what I understand and what you perceive as being taught, two different things.
Yeah.
For example, just to relate it to that with the treaty, and you think, oh, why would they? Well, a treaty is an agreement, right? So to me, and how I was always told is the only reason that the English signed the treaty was because they couldn't beat us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have just squashed us. And that's a fact. The actual fact. They tried many times, but it was just, we were already warfare. Yeah. We were built into the system. It was like, hang on, you're on our land trying to fight us on our land. Yeah. And we've been fighting for centuries now. Didn't happen because we were already, they're coming here fully kitted up with woolen jumpers and everything, going into the bush and get stuck and all this type of thing. And it was just like, man, this is impossible. Nightmare, can't do it. So I think, how are we going to do this? Come up with a treaty. But that's what the treaty's been about over all these years. It hasn't been honoured. So that's why you get a lot of what you would call a complaining Māori person. But it's because what they've been told is like, hang on, we had a treaty and agreement. Like I'm the employer and you're the employee, for example. We agree to this amount of money you're getting, reparations, say, oh, you're getting $5 an hour, and I give you $2.50. Say, hey, well, hang on, we said $5, and then it's like ongoing battle. So it's the same sort of scenario, but it'll never end until, something seriously gets dealt with. But there's always a bigger, like we were saying before, it's like there's the puppets, the strings, and then who's the puppeteer, really? That's the whole thing behind it. It's like, we're just all caught in the middle of it, to be fair. So,
with by saying that, all the colonization and stuff. Now at this age, I mean, in this era, New Zealand has grown, as you know, and then a lot of immigrants has been coming in, like me, Indians and Chinese, and a lot of people. What do you feel about that? Like, people coming in, we might be taking up jobs or something like that. That's what people complain about, and the whole influx of outside people coming in to live in New Zealand. Does that affect you, or do you have any point of view regarding that, or is that?
It's the same again. Like, to me, that's a weak narrative. Like to say, oh, it's taking jobs. Someone's doing it. Someone doesn't want to do picking up rubbish or working in the sewers. And for me, for example, back in the day, it was a lot of our island brothers, that weren't here, whether you're Rarotongan, Samoan, Tongan, Fijian, Takalao, they were all persuaded to come to New Zealand because there were jobs there.
I know,
jobs that we needed in factories to build the infrastructure, jobs that we didn't have enough because people had gone to war, come back, they were veterans. A good chunk of our country didn't return because they got killed in war and things like that. So, we needed help. And every country does to a certain degree, whereas now you see so many invasions in Ireland and England, and it's like, fully Muslim now, and it's like, people are losing their whole identities, but it's like, okay, is immigration, illegal immigration? I don't agree with, because you get those that are going by the way of the law and doing it right yourself. For example, you got to prove to get into a country, just don't waltz and go, hey, I want a job, that sort of thing. So that's fine to me. I mean, because you bring and you generate a lot of income, GDP to the country, which is a great thing any country needs. But when it's done illegally and they're supported in such a way by the government, which I think just creates a whole nother big mess.
I think the government laws and stuff makes the immigrants to stay here illegally sometimes. That's what I felt. But it is right. I mean, people staying here illegally and then taking up the government money and the funds generated is actually bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it funny though, because I just thought of something is that the white people complain that I've only seen the white people complaining that there's Indians coming here for a job, whereas they've actually come here, colonized the country, be it whichever, like be it in UK or Australia or New Zealand. They come here, colonize the country, and then they blame someone for coming here to work. And I actually find it funny all the time that the world is a big place. People can go. People already, there are laws that people can't go here, people can't go there. You need a visa, you need a fucking whatever to go travel, around.
Yeah.
And then we do all the procedures, apply, pay the fees, come here, and then we hear kind of like these kinds of things that we don't need you here. Now that is a big thing that I've heard from my community. And that's why I've been discussing this.
I think, like saying again, like for me growing up, it was somebody, whether it was the Indians, whether it was the Chinese, whether it was the Islanders, doesn't matter who it was. There always has to be somebody, and if you are that somebody at that point in time, unfortunately, racism is a well and alive, And people say, "Oh, I'm not a racist." Yes, you are. You just don't realise you're a bigot, and your points of view on just because of a racial fact, or they're a better worker than you, or their morals are greater, or their religion. Like I said to you before, David, the world would be boring if we were all the same. We're not the same, and that's the thing that people don't get. Is like, hang on, if you don't conform to what I say, ABC, you're wrong. And it's like, well, hang on, you can make fried rice 20 different ways, and yet people are just in this one-track mind of, no, this is how you do it. It's been like this for centuries. No, it hasn't. The Romans got taken over by the Spanish. It just goes on and on and on. It's just times change and things change. If you're not going to change, you get AI and you don't adapt with technology, you're going to get left behind. It's simple as that. And people go, no, I'm never going to change that. And you're changing, trust me.
Yeah, I know the world. Yes, it's changing really quick. And I'm always amazed that, when we met, I think 7 years back, to be precise, and then you've always updated your, you've always changed, you always learn new things, you've always gone with the trend, I would say, and that's actually pretty cool for someone your age.
Myself in school didn't get along, to be fair. I guess you had a lot of trouble, whether I had mild dyslexia or something. I just found it really hard at school. I actually learned more when I left school, and that sounds a bit weird, but I did, and it was only through life experiences, and I had a thirst for knowledge, not instead of hating going to school, because it was just, there was just no interest in it. It's like trying to sell a steak meal to a vegetarian. It just ain't going to happen, right? It's like, no, thank you, But when I found things that I enjoyed, and cryptocurrency and, technology, Wi-Fi, all this sort of stuff, and AI now, and it's like, that interests me, so I'm going to learn about it. It's like, wow, this is pretty cool. It's not maybe something you like, you're into race cars or whatever, but that's what you like, and it's like, I learned a hell of a lot more after I left school than I ever did at school. But, and that's what I mean, when people are different. And like my oldest son, he was the same, and my second oldest son, he was struggled with dyslexia, but schoolwork, struggled. Give him a motor and he'll strip it down, put it back together again. It's like, and a lot of people go, can't even change his flat tire. But people are just like that. It's like
that's something I really admired about New Zealand, is that people have got the real life skills. Like in India, it's all about you need to study. You study, and after that you could try something, but then that's like you literally turn 24, 25. Once you finish all your studies, and then it's all about study. But whereas here, I've seen that people really have got life skills, how to survive in life, and we're a bit behind.
That. See that stems. I know generally I would be just generalizing it is come from the English, because that whole you have to learn a trade and do this, or education was very big, and yet now we're seeing people that save up all their lives, or their parents save up their lives for their college education, and they're working at McDonald's. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's like, hang on, you got now all the student debt, you've learnt everything you could have learned on YouTube or social media these days, and it's like, what were you paying for? They've given you a certificate or a diploma to put on your wall. That doesn't guarantee you a job. And in that time now, you need to get into tech, because it's all swung to the left. Now you need to know technology. Oh, I didn't learn that. Or what did you learn? Oh, I learned history. It's not going to get you a job. Get a job at McDonald's or whatever, because you're not valid anymore. So that whole thing, you need to be evolving. People need to be evolving. It's like yearly, and going, okay, what's the new thing now? And like it was, cryptocurrency, and then it was this, and then it just changes every day. And AI is big now, but it's like, okay, are we going more tech? Is it going more? It's just, you'll never know, you know. And
yeah. I know the world is really changing, and there's plenty of techs coming up, and things coming up that we're not aware. The whole point. It's good learning. Since you were mentioning about growing up, I just wanted to see. We heard, we had, I wouldn't say gangs in India, but we knew about all the fights and stuff going back in India, but it's after coming to New Zealand that I really got a sense of this, the gangs culture and everything that's going on. Did you have a personal experience? Because I've seen that most of the islanders and the Maori people are part of the gang, which might be something that they grew up with or something that they want to do, which is fine, totally fine. But I wasn't aware of this culture before coming to New Zealand. So is that something you know something about? Do you have any personal experience with it?
Very much so. I mean, again, generalising, but for me it was like two of the biggest gangs in New Zealand, obviously Mangomba, Black Power. You either knew someone or you had relations, and that was just a fact. It was like, okay, this uncle was on this side and this auntie and uncle was on that side. Wherever it was still your auntie and uncle. Yeah. But, that was just a part of life. It was normal. It wasn't nothing different. It was like, damn these people because they do this or that. You generally just didn't exist together. Like I was born and raised Catholic. My grandmother, she looked after priests, so we were definitely to one side, and she kept us away from a lot of that riff-raff style. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd probably be dead or in a gang, to be fair. Same with my mum. Like I said, she was an educator, but she looked after them in prison. She knew a lot of them. And so, it was, I know, fight and flight mode for a lot of people because they had, like I said, come through the system, brought up in Borstals and all this type of carry-on, because their mum was a drogie and their dad was in jail and all this sort of thing. So they were a product of the system,
Was that just to be, just to be relevant in a society that some of the people were joining the gang, just to feel belong somewhere, or is it?
A lot of the times it was the only love they got, to be fair, You're at home and dad's in jail, like I said, or mum's drunk and, or stoned or whatever it may be. So you got kids bringing themselves up because they get up to no good. And then they're out stealing and doing whatever they're doing. And it's like, you're going to get in trouble sooner or later. It's like, it's not rocket science. Yeah. Then they go through the system and just never ends. So you get stuck in that cycle. They're not going to get up, most of them. They're just stuck there. It's all the only life they know now. Yeah. So instead of helping and trying, I'm sure there were people there trying to do it, but and then people that you may have looked up to that were older than you and they had the money, the drugs, the girls, everything. And it was like, I want to be like that guy. Yeah. Now, whether it's good or bad, it's like, okay, you see an entrepreneur and it's, he's a billionaire, I want to be like that person. Yeah. Same thing, but just on the wrong track. Yeah. And they're going, man, Uncle so-and-so, I'm going to be like him. Look at his nice motorbike. And then you just see these guys that are together, and the brotherhood is like tight. It's like being in an army unit or whatever. It's the closest thing you get to being in an army or something like that, where you're going in and you're fighting your enemy, whoever that may be. And then you come back with your battle scars. It's like that just makes it even stronger. Whether you're the mafia, whoever it is, maybe, and that's why you'll get people that will literally die for each other, and that's why it becomes so strong. And I guess governments found it hard to infiltrate it, and that's why they go undercover and all this type of thing, because that brotherhood for gangs, especially in New Zealand, is such a small place. It was like you either were or you weren't, and it's like my analogy, like you grew up in a Catholic household. Odds are you're going to be Catholic, So people are saying, you just turn away from it. Well, if you grew up in a gang household, it's like odds are you're going to be in a gang, right? That's just fact. It's not, that's, people just get a little bit sideways on it, and it's like, hang on, be real. This is their life. Going to school with no lunch and stealing other people's stuff, got no shoes, or, this is their life. Yeah. This is what they're growing up with, got no love, no nothing, and you want them to just be, do the right thing, mate. It's like, no. It's like, I'm going to take it. Like I said, it goes back to man's or human's worst trait, which is greed. And it's like, if I can't have it, I'll take it. Yep. Very easy to do. It's like, I'm not going to whip, I'll just take it. So you become part of this whole system that's like, man, I'm living a dream, you know, compared to what I'm doing and living at home on the couch with no pillow and, you know, no blanket. I'll go with these guys. It's an easy choice, man. And so, that's a lot of the reason why gangs were prevalent back in the day. Not so much these days. It's just more underground and it's about money now. It's drugs and all this type of thing, which it's more networked because of, you get someone like the Hells Angels who are or ex-soldiers, you know. So they've got the actual skill set to do it wrong, but do it right and in a big way, you know, worldwide. And they're just like, because they're that good. That's all it is. It's
I mean, I felt like back in those days, I mean, this is my feeling, like it would be really cool to join a gang, you know, and they had some values, I suppose. But now it's all about crime, drugs, trafficking, money, and all that. That's what I feel. But I might be wrong. But I guess it's not as hard today. It's more greed, like I said again. I want to have the Instagram photos and the TikTok videos, and you know, to show they got all the bling, and yet it's fake money, or they hired the car. It's not even their car. It's just rocked up and says, that's not your car. It's a $200,000 car, mate. It's like there's no way that's your car. Yet it's like I'm famous, and you know, what people perceive you as on social media. That's more the gangs these days. Is like, I got the bling and I got everything. It's like, and what? Who cares? But to them, a like is everything. It's like, oh man, I only got 2 likes today. Depression, anxiety, you know, all these things that are popping up. It's like, are you nuts? But hey, that's society now. That's the way it is. It's all about that type of stuff. So, No, I felt very fascinated, you know, in all the gods that you've got, you know, passed down and then came from. Descendants of this god and this. Maori person, and I felt it fascinating. That's just the only thing, you know. That's why I asked you. Did you have any experience from your grandmother, or did someone say something, or is it just?
There was a more of a broad generalization of things, and like I said, because it was, they were trying to lean away from it, I guess, for whatever reason. So it was trying to, like, if they weren't teaching me the language, they're not going to teach me, you know,
all the things,
the rest of it. So it just. In other words, didn't make sense. It's sort of like I'm showing you fried rice, but I didn't show you how to cook the fried rice. You know? So it's like, hang on, why would I show you this when you don't even know? Hang on, you got to boil the rice. You got all these factors that are in it. Yet, I mean, people say, "Oh, why don't you learn it?" You know, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Why don't you go learn your language, Davis? You know how insane that sounds when you actually say it. The same to an English person, for example. They can only speak Māori, for example. Go and learn English. People are like, are you crazy? Why does he have to learn English? Because he's an English person. But he should know English. Of course we know that, but he doesn't. That's, you know, like, for example, you know me as Hope, H-O-P-E. My given name is Hopuru. Yet, because no one could pronounce my name or even spell it, they bastardize it, and then I get called Hope all my life. So living with indifference or that type of carry on is like, I've lived with it all my life, you know. And yet I'm not, you know, up to sit on the toilet and all the privy things you get to do as knowing English ways. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but didn't mean that I had to miss this other half of me, you know. And it's sort of like people go, oh, are you Māori? I'm a Māori of origin, but I wouldn't say I'm Māori. There's little kids out there 5 years old and more Māori than me as far as the language and knowing everything under the sun. And yet, that's embarrassing to me. But, you know, it is what it is. But I'm not going to live and die on that. It's like, mate, I've had a blessed life. I'm very grateful, you know, and gratitude's in your attitude. It's, you take every day every day you've given on this earth is a good day, you know. So it's
I mean, as long as you are happy and content, I think that should be fine.
That's the main thing. I mean, if you're going to be angry about it and blame the world, and which a lot of people are, don't get me wrong, they just take it out on the world in different ways and on society. But I guess you come to that realization. It's like, hang on, it's not. I'm not going to go out and shoot all white people, or no, not at all. It's just. It is what it is, unfortunately. But, you know, I know there's someone out there that's had it worse than me, you know, and I know there's people that have better than me, but that doesn't change my circumstance. I can't unlive 53 years. You know, it's like, hang on, I've got 53 years above ground. That's a good innings, mate. You know, I'm happy. If I go right now, I'll be thankful, very thankful. You know, it's just like, man, I've had a good life. I've got to meet great people like yourself and be on this number one podcast.
I know.
You know, but there's things like that. It's in your attitude, bro. It's like, really is. It's like, you know, I mean, you'll always find someone that's worse than yourself. You know, we can walk right out here and you'll see someone sleeping on the ground with a blanket.
I know.
And everything they own is what is in that cardboard box.
Yeah, I know.
My life ain't that bad, brother. You know, it's like, come on, reality check. And that's how you have to think about it. It's just like, hang on, there's someone that's hasn't got the mentality or the, just even hasn't even got their brain. They're just psychopaths. They're gone. Out. They're not even on this earth. You know, because of drugs or whatever, or being abused or whatever the circumstance may be. But it's like, hang on, that's not me. I'm very thankful for, you know, my intellect and people that I've met and things I've done. Yeah, I'm not perfect, but made good and bad decisions, and that's that little thing called life. You know, everybody has, and I'm thankful for having it, to be fair.
Oh, good. And finally, I mean, it's not finally, but what do you think the future? I mean, now you've retired from your work. What does the future hold for New Zealand? You know, as part of the whole society. I'm not talking about just Maori people, just everyone. What do you reckon? How do you think down the lane, like 20 years from now, would New Zealand feel like? You know, even if you're not here, or if you're here for the next generation, what do you think would happen? As part of the society or the government, the government rules that come in, be it nationalists or Labour, different governments coming in, what do you feel would happen to New Zealand? You know, for Maori society community, and then for the whole people, what do you reckon would happen? Like, would it flourish? I mean, it would have its ups and downs, but what do you generally feel would happen?
So my own personal theory is that, like I was explaining to you before, there's a puppeteer, right?
Yeah.
You've got the strings. So the puppeteers, families that have trillions of dollars of wealth, right? They are the true movers. They own governments. They own royal families. They own a lot. You know, a lot of major companies in the world, the BlackRocks and all these types of things. The big players, like, they actually move a big percent of the money in the world, which money makes the world go around, right? Yeah. So they're the ones doing this. Yeah. And then you've got all the strings, and that's the governments, the armies, police force, and all that type of thing. And then you have the puppet, the rest of us, right? So when they're going like this, and you just, you know, that whole idea of going, when they do this, the puppet's going, yes, we do this. Yeah. That's just it, whether you like it or not. And it's been decades, if not centuries, that people have fought back and just said, you know, knowing right from wrong and trying to change things over time, and it's just, again, it's that, to me, I think the biggest fault for humans is greed. It's just it all evolves around greed. It's just all, when you see every movie that's ever been made, or most of them being made, results in pot of gold at the end, or there's a prize in it, or there's some deceit that somebody did something. It's always monetary. There's something behind it, whether it's monetary value or it's me taking something off Davis, or you know, it's I conned this person 50 years ago. There's some deceit, and it's just based on greed. Yeah. Literally based on greed.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, I would say I'm greedy at times too. Like, I want this something here. I want to buy this one. I need this much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and you know, human beings are basically very greedy people.
So what I'm getting to is, so he who holds all the money controls it. Yeah. So the puppeteer is controlling the money, controlling the string. There's got the armies, the governments, everything, which controls the puppet. Yeah. So unless you change that narrative and go, hang on, wait, cut the strings off, and this is the people fighting back now and going, hang on, like, they want to move us to CDC and all these electronic money. And like I said, I was in the cash and transit industry 20 years, and that was moving other people's money. Yeah. And then we first saw ATMs come, and back then it was these things called checks. I don't know if you're old enough.
Yeah.
So people that was paper money. Yeah. And then they brought ATMs in, so that was to make it more convenient, easier, so there were less bank tellers, so they didn't have to pay them. Now you got things like in supermarkets, self-checkout, so they don't have to employ. Apparently I'm not in the list to go to their Christmas party, but I've got to pack my own groceries, that type of thing. So there's a whole greed behind it. It's like, hang on, we'll get them to pack their own groceries, you know, and we're not paying them. You know, same thing with ATMs. It's like, hang on, we'll fill it up. 2 people fill it up, and it'll go for 3 days and run by itself. And we're just paying that machine. Nothing, just the power. Don't have to pay 5 workers for 2 weeks or whatever. So that sort of came on, and then I sort of knew things were going to change, like monetary-wise, and I was like, okay. And then this thing, crypto came in, and electronic money. People, a lot of people now still don't believe in crypto or whatever.
Yeah,
but yet, the last time I ever did what was called a bomb box run, which was actual physical pay packets and delivering it to supermarkets and take it up to their office and hand over 100 pay packets. They'd sign for it and then they'd go give it to all their employees. As soon as that ended and it went electronic, so it went, all your money's going now from your employer to your bank. And they're not giving you no physical money, so that cut us out of the game. So all of a sudden, our workload went half because it's like, hang on, we've got no work now. So you're cutting industries out of it. So you don't need the cash man anymore. Hang on, it just goes electronic. And now you've got bank tellers that have been, we don't need you anymore because there's no cash. So we'll just put it in the lobby and put an ATM there. Done. Everything else you can do online. It's like, cool, nice. Don't have to pay for rent for the building, don't have to pay employees. So things have changed. And it's all to do with greed, and it's just made themselves more and more and more money. And yet everything goes up. This nasty word called inflation. That's the big, I don't know, it's a trick word to me, because it's just something that they use to go, look what we did. And it's like, hang on, but we're all struggling, like to buy groceries, say, for example, 7 years ago to now.
It's also almost double, the inflation, but that's a whole
but that's not just me. That's everybody in the world, and you're in the world, so it includes you. But we all moan about it on social, and we're not going to do something about it. That's going to be a difference on what is going to navigate to where we go to in the future. Because once people have really had enough, and you have absolute blackouts across the world. Imagine not having power and you can't charge your phone, and and your toilet doesn't go. Do that for a week. You got civil warfare happening shortly. People are going to start pillaging places, taking food. We had it not long ago. Can't pay for your groceries because no EFTPOS. EFTPOS went down. Cash only, right? That was just a test. That was just the beginning of it. You imagine that on a scale of weeks. Mate, we're in big trouble. People are going to be fighting, like literally have to lock yourself up and risk your life to go get some groceries. And you're fighting for it. You're taking a knife to protect yourself because someone else is going to kill you just for that can of baked beans. And people think, you're being ridiculous.
I do feel that, civil war is a real possibility in the near future. Like, a civil war is going to break out pretty much soon, probably 10 years down the lane. Or
look at the whole of Hollywood. You look all the movies previous to now, to 2024, all the movies that they're predicting things, and you think, that's that movie. I've watched this 10 years ago. That was like foreseeing this type of thing. Imagine if this happened, and people were back then like, never happen, mate, never happen. Now it's like, hang on, you got all these, all these theories about people, and they were tinfoil hat and they're nutters, and now everyone's going, that guy was right.
I know.
Now it's like, wait a minute. No, he's not crazy. You got all these things that are now people are pushing their agenda and going, hang on, you have to do this. You got, just all these what I call 3-letter organizations, whether it's CIA, FBI, WEF, all these people that are just want to control the world. It's just, hang on, it's not even about the world. It's just control. There's a greed thing again. It's like, hang on, if we don't get ABC done right first, look after everybody and sort everything out, it's going to be just destruction. And human is going to destroy themselves, literally. And it will be very, very fast, I reckon. And that's a sad reality. So to answer your question, if we don't sort it out and get it and unify as the pup at the bottom together, and this ain't me against Davis or Davis against somebody else. We're on the same team, mate. We're on the same game. And once people realise that, And it's not putting other people on and say, oh, your auntie works for the government. No, hang on. So at the end of the day, it's like, hang on, you either with us or you're not. It was like, decide.
Yeah.
So once you get that sort of sussed out, then people will be like, okay, now we're just going to say, no, enough's enough. In New Zealand, primarily is strong enough to do that because we're that whole number 8 wire, do-it-ourselves type of nation. We've always been known as sort of that rogue little brother, we've always been the little brother to Australia type of thing. And that's our attitude. It's just us as Kiwis, as New Zealanders, and just say, no, enough is enough. And I think once we are the ones that decide, it's just like, no, we're not dealing with that anymore. Yeah. We're down right on the bottom of the world, the arse end of the world. We don't care about you. Do what you're going to do. We don't need your economic carry-on, and that we can survive with ourselves. Get out of here. We're not going to be part of your little game or whatever that may be, and you're not going to bully us around and the rest of our cousins around us, all the islands. It's just like, go away. Go away. You fight over there with your fireworks, your nuclear weapon. Do whatever you want to do. Go ahead. We can't change that. Yeah. But don't involve us in it. You just keep to yourself, mate. Yeah. It's like, nah. And once that happens, then there'll be more clarity on what New Zealand's going to do and Australia's going to do. It's not going to be, those Australians are like, mate, that's our big sister, mate. You know, it's like,
I know. And the 2 or 3 wars that's happening around the world, and since Australia and New Zealand it's a bit away from the world, as I say it.
Yeah.
They're not involved yet, but I guess like you said, the people needs to stand unified, and that's how the world will change. Otherwise, we're gonna head for a disaster. Is that what I feel like?
Yeah, it's inevitable. Well, I mean, it's just going to happen, because there's just too many bullies with fireworks. Like I said, whatever power countries you are in the world, and you get the traditional sheriffs that had to be the sheriff, and now the guards changing so much, and it's going to other areas that they're just as big, and it's like, hey, you're not bullying me anymore. Yeah. I'm the big boss around here now, and now they're all bickering amongst themselves, and we're just here like, what are we going to do, you know? But like I said, don't involve us. It's like, don't make me pick sides, but you were there for us, okay, we'll help you out. You weren't there for us, I'm not helping you out, and we'll just keep right out of it. So, there's going to be a lot of that carry on going on. And what I've always thought to myself was like, once you do to get that, for example, that gang mentality, and people get over themselves, build a bridge and get over themselves, whether you're Māori or Pākehā or Indian or Chinese or whatever, and just unite as a New Zealander and just say, hang on, I'm in this land, I want to stay in this land, want to keep it free as I can and pass it on to my grandkids and so on and so forth, and not have people invade us and change. You got crazy things going on now. In countries that you would have thought never would happen. In a lifetime, and it's like happening right in front of our face. It's like, hey, it's like if it's going against them, mate, we're right out of luck. If they come things like that, those sort of ideologies come to this shore and start trying to take over. Because I know this land, and like I was getting to, is like, man, imagine when the gangs unite. Yeah. You got big trouble, son, I'm telling you. Yeah. And once they figure it out, there's going to be big trouble. Like, they're going to be, game over, mate. It's us against you now. Yeah. And, that's how I see it. And it can be pushed in so many different areas, but, it's going to be interesting. I must say that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's time to wrap up. And I really appreciate for your time, Hope. It's been a really
Pleasure.
Interesting, topics to discuss, and I've got some insights into what's happening, and then I hope the audiences has also got something to learn from our conversation.
I hope they
really
did.
Good. Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Oh, good.
Mean.